Hello guys and welcome to another episode of Fantasy Fortunes. Now the games are coming thick and fast over this Christmas period, so it's only about 24 hours now until the next deadline, so we need to get to move on. But first of all, of course, let's have a look at the MHFC Challenge League table. So as we can see from that table then, Soccer Pro FC keeps its place at the top of the table. Relatively similar weeks for everyone in that top 10, to be honest. No outstanding scores or anything like that. Alex Armstrong, though, he has moved himself up to 5th position now, so he is the highest challenging MHFC player that we have. Grez continues his slip down the table, now in 8th position, but it's all tightening up there nicely. Only 20 points between the leader and 2nd and 3rd place, so things definitely tightening up over Christmas, and this is the period where you need to be smart, because this is where there's going to be a lot of points, a lot of games, and if you can guess team selection right, then you're going to be on to a winner. So let's have a look at those games then for tomorrow and Wednesday night. So we start off this game week then with Burnley playing at home Stoke. Of course, Burnley had a good win, 2-0 at home over a 10-man Watford side. Stoke absolutely smashed by Tottenham, as they tend to do. So when you're looking at this, I think you've got to favour Burnley in this one, but they're a team that don't have big scorers, they don't score a lot of goals, and they don't really have consistent goal scorers. Apart from Chris Wood this season, he's your best chance of getting a goal at this one. I think 6.4 million you pay for him, but I think you mainly want to be looking at Burnley defenders in this one. You've got Joe Ward there, 5.1 at the back, gets up and down that line, about the only fullback for Burnley that likes to get himself into the opposition box, getting crosses in and a bit of an attacking threat. 5.1 million you pay for him, which isn't too expensive for someone who's got as many points as him so far. When you look at the Stoke side, not a lot going for you really, apart from Sheridan Shaqiri, 6.1 million. When he plays well, Stoke tend to do well, but the problem is that he's so inconsistent that he's a bit of a risk putting him in there at 6.1. We move on to Crystal Palace playing at home to Watford. Now Crystal Palace would be absolutely fuming that they didn't come away with a win at the weekend. Benteke taking that penalty, I don't know what you are playing at. Cost them the game, cost them the 3 points, only came up with a draw. They'll be very disappointed. They'll be looking to bounce back from that. The same with Watford though, a very disappointing 2-0 away loss to Burnley, like I was saying. And yeah, with Watford, you really don't know what you're going to get. They're so indifferent this season. One week they'll play an absolute blinder, and then they'll be very poor the next. So calling this one is a bit difficult, but I'm going to stick with Watford. I'm going to go with what the table says. When you're looking at Crystal Palace though, playing at home, again, not consistently scoring a lot of goals. Wilfried Zaha is their key threat going forward, of course, though. 6.9 million. Got himself a couple of pens at the weekend as well. And then who takes those pens? Well, Milivojevic. Him. The guy who's meant to take the penalties. Only 4.6 million for someone who takes penalties. He's taken a lot of penalties. I think he's got 4 this season as well. 4.6 million is quite cheap and a good player to have on your bench. Yeah, I don't think Benteke will be anywhere near the penalties this week. I'll be surprised if he's in the team, actually. They might discipline him a bit and whack him on the bench. When you look at Watford, you say you've got the same two dangerous players as you always have, Richarlison and Doucouré. 6.6 million you pay for Richarlison. Very, very dangerous. The only thing missing from his game is the finishing, unfortunately. Gets himself in a lot of great positions though. And Doucouré, box-to-box midfielder, always dangerous, always floating on the edge of the box, and he's got a bloody good strike on him. 5.4 million you pay for him. I'm going for the Watford win. Final game on Tuesday night, then we've got Huddersfield playing at home to Chelsea. Now Huddersfield had a great win, 2-0 at home to Brighton. Chelsea being humbled away at the might of West Ham, 1-0. A game when they were really frustrated, and I think Huddersfield are going to do exactly the same thing to Chelsea tomorrow night. Huddersfield though, unfortunately, I can't really see them scoring in this game. They don't have much of an attacking threat, so West Ham obviously managed to get a goal with one of the few chances that they had in that game. But Huddersfield not a particularly clinical side. Chelsea are going to get frustrated though, and the thing with Chelsea though, if they get the breakthrough early on, then they're going to have no problem in winning this game. But it's how long it goes before them scoring that is going to be the issue. And when we're talking about goal scorers for Chelsea, there's only 2 real people that are dangerous for Chelsea. You've got Eden Hazard and you've got Alvaro Morata. They're the two, the creators and the finishers of the opportunities that Chelsea get. 10.9 you pay for Hazard and 10.8 you pay for Morata, so they are by no means cheap whatsoever, especially when they've not been in great form of late. But you pay your money, you take your risk, and you could be rewarded in this one. It's got to be a Chelsea win for me, but it's going to be another difficult away day for them. The first fixture then on Wednesday night, we've got Newcastle playing at home to Everton. Now Newcastle have been absolutely awful in the league lately. I think it's 5 or 6 defeats on the bounce. Everton having a little mini revival as you expect under Sam Allardyce. Now Newcastle, they've only really got one main danger man, Matt Ritchie down the wing, getting balls into the box. Unfortunately for him, there's not a lot of people getting on the end of them at the minute, but 5.7 million you pay for him. Everton, there's only one guy. When he plays well, Everton have been playing well. He's having his own little mini revival at the minute, and that is of course Wayne Rooney. 7.3 million you pay for him. 8 goals in the Premier League as well. That's the same amount of goals as Romelu Lukaku. And when you compare their prices, Wayne Rooney 4.3 million cheaper than him as well. So he's your main guy. I think if Everton are going to win this game, Rooney's going to need to have a good game. So stick him in there. I reckon he's got a goal in him. I'm going to go for it's got to be an Everton win or the draw. Southampton versus Leicester then is the 5th fixture of the game week, and Southampton have started scoring goals, and that's mainly because Charlie Austin has come back into the side. 6.1 million you pay for him as well, so he's cheap as chips at the minute. Leicester, they're also playing very, very well, showing another bit of form to get them back into that top half of the table. 2 main players for them at the minute. Damari Gray, 5.3 million. Absolute snippet at that cost. He's been scoring goals, getting assists, looks very, very dangerous. The more expensive option and potentially the more consistent option at the minute, you've got Riyad Mahrez, the blonde Riyad Mahrez. 8.5 million you pay for him. Still not massively expensive when you consider he's got 3 goals in his last 3 games. It's going to depend on who's going to be playing better out of Mahrez and Austin, I think, but I reckon it could go the same way probably as the Arsenal match did at the weekend, and I'm going to go for a draw. And now we move on to Man City, who I think have pretty much got the title wrapped up now after that Man United win at the weekend, and they've not been walking games. It's not been easy for them the last 3 or 4 weeks, but in my eyes, that's what makes them the best contenders for the title. I mean, obviously that 11-point lead does help, but the way that they've been playing lately shows that they've got the grit and the determination to go all the way and win this thing, because it's not been their main danger men, it's not been their expensive players that have been getting them out of trouble lately. When you look at Sergio Aguero, Gabriel Jesus, Leroy Sané, they were the top 3 goal scorers for them. They've not been scoring goals at all lately. I don't think either of them have got goals in the last 3 or 4 fixtures. But that's when, in a title contending team, that's where you need lesser players to step up and start scoring goals. And we've seen, obviously, it started, Kevin De Bruyne finally started scoring goals, Raheem Sterling getting late goals, David Silva now started popping up with goals. Otamendi, I think he's got 4 goals in his last 11 appearances, and it's these kind of goals from players that you wouldn't expect it that really help you push up the table and get that title. We saw it with Man U teams under Ferguson for years, and I think this is going to be exactly the same thing. They've just got such a strong squad that anyone really could score on any given day, and that makes it a bit difficult when we are looking at Fantasy Premier League, of course, because at the minute the main informed players, like I said, you've got Kevin De Bruyne 10.2 million, David Silva 8.1 million, and Otamendi at the back 5.9 million. Now Otamendi, that is very expensive for a defender, but when he's scoring as many goals as he is at the minute, that's definitely worth getting him in there, and you've got to think they've got to have a clean sheet against Swansea as well. Obviously you've still got the likes of Gabriel Jesus, Leroy Sané, Raheem Sterling, Sergio Aguero. They're all a lot more expensive, between 8.8 and 12.4 million. I think you end up paying for Sergio Aguero, something outrageous like that. So maybe not worth getting those more expensive players in my opinion. It'll be a game where I think Pep Guardiola thinks he can rest a few players as well. So it's going to be the kind of the backup dancers that are going to be doing a lot of the work in this. But David Silva, I think he's going to definitely start captain of the club. He's been starting every single game for Man City this week, as well as Kevin De Bruyne as well. So they're your 2 main guys to get in. Clean sheet, like I said at the back, Otamendi 5.9 million, put him in if you've got the money, but it's got to be a comfortable Man City victory in this one. It's just a question really, yeah, of who's going to play and who's going to get those goals. And then we have Liverpool playing at home to West Brom. Now this is another one that's difficult to call. I mean, not in terms of the result, I think Liverpool obviously are going to win it, but then you would have said that against Everton at the weekend. And I couldn't believe that side that Jurgen Klopp put out, to be honest. They had Firmino on the bench, you had Coutinho on the bench, has been the 2 best goal scorers for them in the last 3 or 4 games as well. I know Mohamed Salah's been scoring, but they've been scoring braces, hat-tricks, getting 2 or 3 assists as well, and they've actually been outscoring Mo Salah in the last 2-3 weeks as it stands. So I couldn't believe that they weren't starting, to be honest, especially in such a big game for them, and I don't feel like Klopp was resting players for the big midweek West Brom fixture. So it's a bit annoying from that, but after dropping points and only coming out with a draw in that game, you've got to think he's got to go back to full strength. Who doesn't, he's a fool. But obviously your main guy to go with is Mohamed Salah, consistently starting every single game, even when he is resting other players. 9.6 million you pay for him. He is getting gradually more and more expensive, as you would expect though from a guy that has scored 13 goals in the Premier League this season already. So he's your main guy. Then obviously you've got Coutinho. I reckon he's got to come back in from the start. He only played about 11-12 minutes against Everton. 9 million you pay for him as well, on free kicks, on corners. So he's going to be a good point scorer from those kind of positions as well, against a West Brom side that really haven't found their feet under Alan Pardew yet. Struggling for goals, struggling for results. So I'd stay away from them. It's got to be a comfortable Liverpool win. We move on to Old Trafford then, where Man United are playing at home to Bournemouth. Now you've got to say this is going to be a comfortable Man United win, but Man United fans will just want to see a considerably more ambitious performance than they showed against Man City, where they were very poor. Another very defensive showing from Mourinho. I think they had about 25% possession in the game, which is just ridiculous and unheard of a Man United team playing at Old Trafford. And when they did have their opportunities going forward, you could more than often rely on Lukaku to completely fluff his lines, missing 100% of the opportunities that he had on Sunday afternoon. So they'll be wanting him to get a goal as well. You can't buy a goal at the minute, but 11.3 million you pay for him, that's a lot of money to risk a player that has scored the same goals as Wayne Rooney this season. Like I said, I'd be putting my money on Wayne Rooney at the minute rather than Romelu Lukaku. When we look at players that have been consistent for Man United then, best goalkeeper in the world, David De Gea, in my opinion. I think he finished 7th in the world goalkeeper of the year, which is just the most offensive bit of footballing awarding that I've ever seen in my life. He finished behind, was it Thibaut Courtois finished 3rd and Hugo Lloris finished 5th, which is just ridiculous because, I mean, De Gea is definitely the best goalkeeper in the Premiership, if not in the world. I think Manuel Neuer won it though, and he's played about 4 games a season, so I think we can completely discredit that as a ridiculous award and competition. But yeah, 5.8 million is expensive, but he's a player that if you've not got him already, stick him in there and he'll be the best point goal scoring keeper over the course of the Premier League. I've got absolutely no doubt about that whatsoever. And then defensively, I don't think they're going to concede, like I've said. You've got Antonio Valencia, 6.8 million though, which is very, very expensive, but you do get your money's worth of him because he's always going forward, sticking balls into the box and not afraid to hit it when he gets the opportunity. Other than that, I'm going to go for the youngsters, I think. Marcus Rashford, 7.6 million, got himself a goal against Man City, and even when Man United aren't playing well, he's got that little bit of magic that he can create something. He's not afraid to take a shot, takes corners and a lot of free kicks as well. So he could be a good points goal scorer this week. And Jesse Lingard as well, 5.8 million. So a player who is playing, he's playing very well at the minute, got himself 3 or 4 goals in the last 5-6 games. Only 5.8 million, so a less expensive risk to take. And someone who you can afford to leave on the bench every now and then as well if he's not playing. So I think he'll be a good shout to get himself a goal this weekend. The only problem with Man United at the minute, I say, they don't have Pogba, looking a bit lacking of ideas in that midfield. And Lukaku can't score goals when his mate Paul's not in the side. So it's going to be a bit of a question as to where the goals are going to come from against Man United, but I think they're going to get them and comfortably win this game. And then we go to Wembley, where it seemed like Tottenham managed to And then we move on to Wembley, where Tottenham absolutely smashed Stoke at the weekend, and you've got to think it could be a similar situation for a Brighton side that have really struggled away from home so far this season. And the main three, well, I say the main three, it's not really the main three, it's the new main three, in my opinion, for Tottenham. Harry Kane, Christian Eriksen and Heung-min Son really, really turned it on at the weekend. They're all having a part in all 5 goals that were scored, and of course scoring 2 of them was Harry Kane. He only scored braces for some reason, not got a hat-trick, not got a game where he's just scored 1. He scored 6 braces so far this season, and so it's good to know that if he is going to score a goal, he's normally going to get more than 1. So at 12.8 million, if he does get more than 1 goal, he's more than worth putting him in there if you don't have him already. Christian Eriksen, 9.3 million in the midfield. He's had very, very quiet in the last 6 or 7 weeks, until last week where he got himself a goal and a couple of assists as well, and really piped up. 9.3 million for him. Obviously about the same amount of money you play for Coutinho. So it's going to be a choice of one of the 2 of them this week, in my opinion. And then Heung-min Son, 7.9 million. The problem with him so far this season is that he's not consistently been playing up top. He's not been consistently playing 90 minutes. And yeah, you don't really know whether he's going to start or not. But when he has been starting, he's been putting in performances. He's been their most consistent player in the last 5 or 6 weeks, without a doubt. And at 7.9 million as well, he's not that expensive. So I'd get him in there this week. Saying that, obviously, Pochettino will decide that this is the week he wants to rest him. But I don't think he can afford to rest him. You've got to play your best team every single week in the Premier League if you can. And Son is definitely a player in Tottenham's best side. So they're the three I'm going for, but Son's going to be the bargain at 7.9 million. Comfortable Tottenham win. The final game of the match week is West Ham playing at home to Arsenal, and this is quite an interesting fixture when you look at the weekend's results. Obviously West Ham got themselves an early goal, managed to hold out for the 90 minutes against Chelsea to get that 1-0 win. Arsenal away at Southampton conceded an early goal that Southampton sat back on, and they just managed to get the breakthrough in the final 5 minutes to nick themselves a draw. And it's going to be a very similar game to that one. Arsenal's defence was absolutely shambolic in the first 20 minutes, so you've got to think there's going to be opportunities there for West Ham if they come out the blocks well. And if we take that early goal and we can sit on it and try to infuriate and frustrate that Arsenal side, then we've got the chance in this one, definitely. We just don't want it to be an open game because that is going to suit Arsenal's style of play. So when you look at it from a West Ham side though, looking for goals, I mean, Arnautovic got himself on the score sheet. Maybe that's going to kickstart a little bit of form for him. You pay around the 7 million mark for him in the midfield as well, so he's not too expensive, but a West Ham player to score goals in back-to-back games is quite unlikely, so maybe stay away from him. But West Ham's best player by far so far this season, by far, has been Arthur Masuaku, playing kind of a left wing-back position. He does go down as a defender, so you are paying the risk as to whether West Ham will get a clean sheet, which isn't particularly likely, it has to be said. But 4.4 million you pay for him. He gets himself in a lot of attacking positions, putting a lot of balls into the box as well, which is obviously where West Ham are quite dangerous. So you're looking at Arsenal, obviously you've got four real danger men for them at the minute. Obviously you've got Lacazette, you've got Sanchez, you've got Ozil, and Aaron Ramsey's kind of the guy feeding all of those people from the midfield. In previous seasons it's been Sanchez that has made West Ham look a bit silly. He absolutely destroyed us at the London Stadium last season. 11.8 million you pay for him, and I've said it previously where he's the most individual out of all of them. So if they are getting frustrated, he's the player that's really going to be able to create something and make something from nothing and get themselves a goal. Obviously Mesut Ozil's passing could be very, very dangerous. You pay about 9.5 million for him in the middle, but Ramsey is the cheaper midfielding option at around the 7 million mark. Lacazette, you pay 10.3 million for him, a player that gets himself in good position, doesn't always get the ball, and has missed a fair few opportunities in recent weeks, it has to be said, but he is due a goal. 10.3 million. He could obviously, if there's a player that ever needs to break a poor goal scoring streak, West Ham will be the team he'll break that record against. So the form is going to say it's going to be an Arsenal win, but I've got fingers crossed that West Ham can put in another plucky performance and get the victory here. But we'll go for a narrow Arsenal win in this one. To pick finally then, and this is the game week where you've got quite a lot of players to choose from. A lot of the top 6 playing against sides down in the bottom half of the table, but there's 3 standing out players really for you to pick from this week. We've got Harry Kane, Mohamed Salah and Kevin De Bruyne, and when we look at the stats it's very easy to see why these are the captain's picks for this week. Harry Kane, 12 goals and 1 assist in the league this season, playing at home against Brighton. Mohamed Salah playing at home against West Bromwich Albion. He's got 13 goals and 4 assists, and at 9.6 million he is the cheapest player on the list as well. And when we look at Kevin De Bruyne, consistently playing every single game for Man City, making everything tick in that midfield. He's got 4 goals and 8 assists this season as well. 10.2 million you pay for him, so he is the middle ground. But when you look at who they're playing, like I said, Kane at home to Brighton, Salah at home to West Brom, and Man City away at Swansea, you've got to think that these players are going to be scoring points this weekend. It's just a question of who's going to score the most points. So give us a little vote up in that poll in the top right hand corner and let us know who you think is going to be the biggest point goal scorer this week. Or like I say, comment below if you disagree with any of them and you think there is someone else I've missed out. But those are the captain's picks for game week 17. So that is it then for another episode of Fantasy Fortunes. A lot of football coming up over the Christmas period. I can't wait for it. It's going to be manic. You need to be really on the ball when it comes to changing your fantasy football teams, because like I said, there's about 5 or 6 games before the new year, so it's going to be absolutely manic and I'm going to absolutely love it. I can't wait. As always, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe if you do enjoy these videos, and from us it's on to the next one.